Welcome to this explainer. We're diving straight into a seriously fascinating esoteric text today, one that details an ancient spiritual entity's, well, pretty dire warning about a looming civilizational collapse. It's intense, right? Whether you're already deep into esoteric philosophies or just kind of curious about how our modern tech anxieties get filtered through a spiritual lens, this cosmology really challenges how we look at our own era. So let's unpack this whole thing. The text we're exploring today throws a massive question at us right from the jump. Are we on the brink of a new dark age? I mean, we usually think of human progress as this straight line pointing up, right? But the framework we're digging into suggests our current path might actually be a massive, catastrophic U-turn straight back into darkness. To really grasp what's at stake here, we're drawing our explanation strictly from this specific book, Spiritual Messages from the Ancient Inca King Rient Croud by Ryuho Okawa. We're going to impartially map out the exact arguments and prophecies it lays out to diagnose the crises of the 21st century. Section 1, Modern Materialism and AI Worship. So, according to the book's framework, the real root of our impending crisis isn't actually political or economic, it's deeply spiritual. It points to humanity's growing obsession, almost a worship really, of machines, raw intellect, and just pure materialism. And the counterweight to all this? The profound spiritual faith and teachings of Cantare I. The author basically argues that we are completely out of whack right now. We're effectively swapping out ancient spiritual connections for a blind reliance on our own synthetic creations. The book paints a really stark picture of a world completely distracted by these new technological deities. It literally warns about artificial intelligence emerging as a new god for humanity. It explicitly calls out the rise of what it terms the Google religion and Microsoft religion. Crazy, right? It's this idea that corporate algorithms and big data have somehow become our ultimate arbiters of truth. It also points to mass media manipulating democratic politics, essentially turning pundits into this new sort of priesthood. The ultimate diagnosis: extreme materialism is blinding us to higher, universal truths, and it's leaving our civilization incredibly fragile.
Section 2, The Path of Cantare.
Okay, so if technology is the false idol here, what's the true north? Well, within this specific cosmology, it's Cantare. This is described as the supreme existence, the ultimate divine anchor. The argument is that just reverting to older, localized religions, that's not going to cut it in a globally connected space age. Instead, the teachings of Cantare are presented as the essential unifying standard of cosmic justice we absolutely need to reverse our trajectory toward collapse. It's positioned as the direct spiritual antidote to that Google religion we just talked about. Section 3, Warning of Civilizational Collapse. And that brings us right to the absolute core focus of our explainer today, Chapter 10. To really understand the dire prophetic warnings here, we have to look at the timeline it sets up. The text argues that recording King Croud's messages right now is absolutely vital. It mirrors the careful preservation of spiritual wisdom during the eras of ancient guiding spirits, like Thoth and Orpheus. It draws this direct line from antiquity straight to the present day. Basically, in each of these massive transitional periods, specific spiritual truths just had to be anchored and documented to guide humanity forward. Okawa really stresses this point. He says that carefully digging up and leaving these remnants behind, without cutting any corners, is a monumental, totally non-negotiable duty for the future. Even if our current generation completely rejects the message, the actual act of recording it is framed as a cosmic imperative. It's all about preserving this blueprint for spiritual survival. Section 4. Preserving truth in darkness. But what actually happens if modern society just completely rejects these teachings? What if this worship of materialism and AI actually wins out in the short term? Well, the text outlines what we can essentially call a dark age protocol. It's a pretty grim but necessary survival strategy. Step 1 is retreat. If materialistic society becomes entirely hostile to spiritual truth, believers might actually be forced to withdraw entirely. Step 2 is preserve. They have to secretly protect the teachings. The book uses this beautiful evocative analogy, comparing it to ancient ascetics holding hidden scrolls deep in a cave to keep them safe from destruction. And finally, step 3 is transmit, patiently waiting out the dark age, however long that takes, to eventually hand that light over to a future, more receptive era of humanity.
This powerful sentiment totally captures the absolute necessity of the author's work as defined in the book. It says, "We must leave this behind, carefully digging up the remnants of the soul so we do not cut corners." It establishes this text as much more than just a book to read today. It's literally a spiritual time capsule. It's a fail-safe mechanism for human civilization, meticulously crafted and hidden away, just in case that absolute worst-case scenario of civilizational collapse actually happens.
So, we're going to leave you with this final thought from our explainer. As our machine-driven society accelerates faster and faster every single day, which path are we ultimately going to choose? Will a completely tech-obsessed world recognize the need for a spiritual counterbalance? Or are we destined to trigger this dark age protocol, forcing esoteric truths back into the caves, just waiting for some future generation to rediscover the scrolls? Think about that as you navigate our highly digital world today. Thanks for joining us to unpack this fascinating material, and as always, keep questioning the structures around you.